Alright, welcome back to another My Sorare journey. It has been a month since I last updated you. I'm sorry for that. I've been so busy in life. I've been away. But I'll tell you absolutely everything that's been going on and update you a little bit. The last time we spoke, I had won my first division. I was on top of the world and I brought home Diogo Costa. Being Diogo Costa, I already have one. I thought, what's best to do? It's probably best to sell him off, raise some money, invest it elsewhere. You know, I've already got Donnarumma in goal, Diogo Costa in goal. I couldn't really use another one. So essentially, I was trying to sell him off. I knew the new season supplies were coming, and I was like, I don't really want, his price to go down any further. I just want to get out as soon as possible, really. Had him up on auction for couple of hours, maybe a day. So after you haven't sold for, let's say, a day, I thought, do you know what? I've got this nice trade offer. Let's go through it and let's see what we can do. We negotiated a little bit on Discord and we came to an agreement we were both happy with. On the day, it was kind of a valuation. I was getting 1,246 and he was getting 1,000. They were the kind of values at the time. And why have I got so much additional? Well, look, if he's sending me cards that I'm going to have to sell, I want some extra, percentage on top to take away the risk. It's not something I do often, but I was pretty sure I could sell the goalkeeper pretty quickly, and I was pretty sure I could sell Sorare and use him. So I was like, it's not someone that's going to waste. I don't really have good rare players, and Sorare was the perfect card. You can see on screen, it was an absolute disaster. This is the worst trade I've ever done on Sorare. Essentially, they crashed in value. They halved in value. Just for Sorare, actually. I got rid of the keeper pretty quickly. Got a bit of ETH on top, 91. It's not really, too substantial when he's worth £1,000. So I got that. But Yari Sorare, let me just show you this graph, what's been happening. So this is Yari Sorare's price graph, right? The last sale at the time of negotiating was for about, £1,100, right? And I was like, okay, well, yeah, you can price him at that, but clearly he's not worth that because he hasn't sold for that. In that time, he put like a mediocre performance in, and this was another mediocre performance, and he was already on a downfall from the 1,400 he's bought from before. So I was like, I can't guarantee he's going to be at that price. I was like, he's probably valued somewhere in this region, between like 900 to 1,000, maybe 800 at worst. So that was the kind of risks I was taking in, how much is he actually worth? And I was like, yeah, this sale hadn't happened at the time, and I was trying to get rid of him as soon as possible, and then I saw he had a good fixture that week, and, there wasn't really much going on, so I was going to play him. In that time, I saw him sell. And then after that, there was one card finishing on auction, and I have no idea what happened, but he sold for £562. So keep in mind, the day before, or on the same day, he sold for 900. He then later sold for like 560, and I was just like, this is going to be a disaster. There's nothing I can do to sell it at like a reasonable price now. I didn't really want to lock in a loss. And then since then, literally, if we just look at his scores, they've just been like so average, so like all of these, highs of a 68, compared to what he was doing in preseason, it's just not what we wanted to see. So it's just to, level out with you guys that, you have these highs of winning and you have the lows of wasting your award. The worst thing I've done in terms of a trade, and yeah, let's always try and be honest and say, everyone makes mistakes, and that was definitely one of them. On the face of it, it wasn't such a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have taken such a risk with, a card that hadn't been sold in a little bit after a couple of mediocre performances. But yeah, it's not the end of the world, essentially. It's just a bit annoying because he's still in my club, and I feel like, he's a curse. I want to get rid of him, but I can't bring him to sell him at this price. The only thing I'm hoping for, if I check the last 15 here, he's still an average of 42. I don't know how, but I'm hoping he drops below 40 for that specialist, and he'll be one of those key players to get in the specialist. But Yari Sorare, stop ruining my game weeks. Stop ruining my value, please. And what happened next on Sorare? It was drama season. It usually comes in the international break, but it came early this year. It started, I was heavily involved. It probably started, I'd say, with the Division 2 clubs being allowed in regular leagues. Some people thought it was good, some people thought it was bad. I was strongly on the side that it was bad. There's one overwhelming reason for me, and it's that supply element. In order to run a good game economy, you've got to have, stringent, strict supplies. And Sorare have never said they're going to limit it. They did say they're aiming for the top 20, and I thought, do you know what, that's a good league. That's a lot of diversity. That's a lot of teams. We'll get new users, we'll have cover most fan bases, and, we can play. And in Division 2 clubs, it wasn't the end of the world, but what it did is just, rip off that top 20 leagues. And, for me, it's just like, where do we stop? Where do you stop minting cards? Because you've got to have some level of supply. Otherwise, like, tier 2s and tier 3s would just be worthless. And then you're just playing for the top cards. But then, the players that are playing with tier 2s and tier 3 cards aren't going to stick around. That's kind of my thoughts on it. It's drawing that line. We need to draw the line somewhere. If they draw the line and said the top 5 division, League 2 divisions, where we're going to stop, I'd be more than happy. But that's how I felt. That's how I still feel. From Division 2 clubs, we can stretch to the top 20 leagues in the world, their second divisions, and it's like, that's just a disaster to me. What about women's football? I see no reason women's football can't be added now, because it's it's professional football. It's like there's no limits. This is what I'm trying to say. There's nowhere where you can stop and say there's the line, because they're not saying where the line is. And for me, that's concerning. I have the utmost confidence in the long-term sustainability of the platform, and this knocked my confidence a little bit, so I had to react accordingly. That's how I kind of treat this game. This is how I always try and think about it. Don't get over-invested. Don't get overconfident. Be rational. Think from outside of the box. Looking in, how would this look? And for me, I had to take away a bit of exposure. I had to sell some players. When you're trying to sell players quickly, who's going to buy them? This was a little time of panic, so there's some big players that went. Neymar, he was on a double hundred, maybe even a triple hundred, absolutely huge. On for £1,060. He's about £1,000 at the moment. Really tough to let him go, in incredible form. But like I said, these little players, firstly, they weren't going to make an impact. And secondly, no one's going to be buying them. There was a little bit of panic. I wasn't alone in this. And I'll show you on this portfolio tracker now, between August 11th, my portfolio value was 24,000. By the time it got to August 21st, it was 14,000. So that is minus £10,000, right? £10,000 was lost in, is that a week, 10 days? But I did take out 3,000 as well. So, £7,000 down in a week or so. Not just because of that decision, but I'd say largely because of that decision. Other people are in the same boat as me. Of course, there's people just selling out because of the panic and then they'll buy back cheaper. Plenty of people like that. And some people just taking risk off the table thinking, I just want to avoid this completely. I have no idea what's going to happen. I wouldn't say there's no reaction from me. Some people probably definitely overreacted. I saw people selling their galleries. This wasn't a lone event. People are talking about onboarding new users and the lack of Premier League and so many other things, right? But beyond that, like I said, sorry, I just have finished. There were some really big players that are gone. Sorare is down a little bit at the moment. I can't get all of the players that I sold, but I know Upamecano sold for 368 with good XPs, now at 281. So, the market's been trending downwards, but I wouldn't say this is... obviously, like I was saying before, that £7,000 loss is, or like decrease in value, I should say, is obviously... not regular, but this kind of like, moving from 368 to 281 with new season supply, that's not irregular at all. I'd say that's actually pretty standard. So, nothing to worry about. All of this kind of second division clubs and second division leagues, that would all be an impact long term down the road. And I always kind of think long term with, when I'm playing this game and, other crypto projects. But, I'll touch on that later. I'll touch on a little bit further of my thoughts later on that, and you'll see why. So the next piece of drama came out, and again, it affected me. I had a very strong opinion on this as well. But essentially, this is all of the cards, right? And in here, you can see their kind of rewards, the referrals, and how many have been sold. And on the auction for limiteds, they had been sold 81% and only rewarded 11%. And what Sorare have always said is there's up to 40% rewarded. Now, that doesn't mean 40%, but if you're going to say up to 40% rewarded each season, you would expect, to be similar to that number. Of course, you can't mint 40% of the rewards at this time because we're not, fully onboarded all our users. But when you get to the end of the season and you have this absolute, extra amount of rewards you could give out, and people are complaining about, prices going down, and people are complaining about, the general state of the game. Why would you not increase the reward rate? Why were you clearly estimated how many people are going to be on the game and the, increase in the rewards? Whatever happened, there's definitely something where limited players got screwed. 11% in this division, but 25% in the rare division. And I really, I was already in enough drama the week before, so I tried to keep as quiet as I could while still getting the point across to Sorare. I tagged all the important people, got it done. Now, I don't have a big following or anything, but people were still on my back, and it was so irritating because I thought so in depth about all of this. And, people didn't seem to have a problem with it. They're saying, oh, they're probably just rewarding tier 3 cards more than they are Mbappe's. And I was looking at the list and I was like, no, I went through all my list of players that rewards, checked their ratios myself, and I was like, no, we're just absolutely being under-rewarded, and it's kind of not fair. And, people that don't play the division probably didn't care, and people are like, oh, prices are going down, you're just going to make prices go down further. And I felt like there's this bias just because, if it doesn't affect me, I don't really care. And that was annoying as it was. People on my back because I was complaining the week before, and I don't want to be negative about this, but it's about making a better game, If you're going to say up to 40% of the rewards and you only reward 11%, it's ridiculous, and people are like, you're just going to crash prices further. And I was drawing up these graphs, and I was just keeping them very much to myself because I did not want to have full-blown arguments. It really just does, your head in some days. But essentially, what I was saying here is they could either reduce the auction rate, and that basically makes a net result increase of players, right? And this is based on if they get up to 40% of their rewards allocated, rather than, so in this, it would increase rewards by 30% to 40%. That's kind of what I was showing. And yes, Sorare lose out in this scenario. So I was like, okay, well, what happens if Sorare complete considering, all of their auctions, but actually give out more rewards than what they have been promising? And the net result for the player was minus 3.3% if they went to 40%. I was probably saying it should be closer to 20% like the rare division, right? Or 30%. So somewhere between here. So let's say you went up to 20%. A 1% effect on the player in terms of net inflation rate. That's absolutely nothing. So what that would do is give more chance for players to win rewards. It would make the limited players feel more rewarded for what they're doing, and it would bring prices down a little bit. And all you need to do to counteract that balance, right, to counteract that net inflation of 1.1% is get more players. So will cheaper prices bring in more players? Absolutely. How many people do you know that have tried to play the game and just looked at the price of an Mbappe and be like, Jesus, if this is the cheapest, limited card I can get, or if this is a limit card I want, and his cheapest variant is £2,000, I'm just not going to play it. So again, it was frustrating, but we had a massive win on this. Literally the next day, 2 days after that, Sorare increased their rewards. They added new divisions. I really felt they're listening to us. They even said in the thing we're listening to us. So it was a big, F you to everyone that was having a go at me and all the rest of it, and, shaking hands with the people that are on my side and actually understood the problems. But, the problem with the back-to-back was that Sorare put out an awful second division announcement, right? And I'm not talking about the actual news. I'm talking about how they did it, right? They just dropped it, forgot about it. There was some insider trading rumors, all the rest of it. And there wasn't much response from that. And then the second part was that they dropped, this, we had this news and nothing was going on. So when I realized they were monitoring, they were, seeing the reaction from the fans, it really meant a lot, really, increased my confidence again. Then we had further good news added, with the NBA coming to Sorare, which is just absolutely massive. For me, it's one of those where baseball's cool, but it's a very American-only sport, whereas the NBA is such a bigger sport, in my opinion. And, even for myself, I'm not a basketball fan, but I'm tempted to get involved in this. If Sorare helps you learn new divisions, it can also help you learn new games. It really is what it says, where it gets the player closer to the game. And in terms of just myself and SO5, I've been doing, just normal bits, winning tier 2s, tier 3s, nothing substantial. I felt like I'm getting unlucky a lot of this last month, which is probably true. But in a year, you don't want to complain that you're unlucky for 1 month because you can be, incredibly lucky the next. So yeah, just little things like that, really. But the state of the game was really bad, and then it got slightly better. And I think you can kind of see that in this portfolio tracker. So if you take the bottom here, we've started to pick up again. You would see that, dip off in the value here, but that's because I sold a couple of cards. Now, you might be thinking, who did you sell to make that much money? And yeah, I'm sorry to announce to you, Kylian Mbappe got sold. So why would your best player, you made a whole video about buying Kylian Mbappe, why have you possibly got rid of him? Simply the reason I got rid of Mbappe was I thought he wasn't adding that value I wanted to see. For a player that expensive, maybe I was just over-exaggerating what I needed, but every team I put him up, there was someone that was DMPing. someone let me down. I just wasn't getting the returns I was liking. And also it helps me adjust my gallery. You know, what happens here is I managed to buy him. Let's see if I can find the graph here. Yeah. So I managed to buy him for £2,156, sell him for £2,228. So make about £70, and in that time use him in like 5-6 leagues. Like maybe 7-8 game weeks, and get the rewards on top of that. You know, that's very good. The general trend of Sorare cards is a slow line down because more supply comes out. You've just got to beat that supply by being good at the game, earning rewards, and, you know, overall increasing your gallery value. So if I can play Mbappe for a couple of weeks, sell him, fantastic. So that's why, you know, I thought it was a wise choice. This has nothing to do with the game. This is me trying to be strategic and do the best thing I can do. And what you'll realise is Mbappe has a shiny new photo here, which means there's new cards coming out. So actually in saving that, and in that time, I could go back into Mbappe if I feel like I'm missing out that much. For example, he had a game against Brest. I was expecting them to win 5-6-0. He only put up a 78 in a 1-0 win. He didn't get decisive. So it was a good time to sell. But then next midweek, he did get a decisive, play very well in the Champions League. So I'm still deciding whether I should bring Mbappe back in. But I love this thing. If you can make a profit on a card just before the new season cards are coming out, and you can get one for a similar price, that XP bonus is going to be absolutely crucial, especially in a division like Limited. So that's what I'm attempting. But I'm not sure whether I want Mbappe. He hasn't been adding what I need him to. He was injured for a little bit. That's obviously not his fault. But when you have so much money in one player, it's very tough to say whether he's bringing those returns you want. And then you think, you know, where else can I put it? And if you're looking at form this season, you know, Joshua Kimmich was just on fire before today. Like, he still put up a 63 in a 1-0 loss, but, you know, 96, 100, 97, 91, 92. He was just unstoppable. So it's like, you know, I felt like I could get more out of Kimmich with those. And then, you know, you don't even have to go, you know, you don't even have to have one of them, right? You can just go straight into like a Douglas Santos, who's just doing incredible scores for, you know, 1/4 of the value of a Kimmich. Lots to be decided. And that is what I'm trying to do now. I am at an absolute turning point, an absolute tipping point. There's so many different scenarios I can go through. I'm not going to go onto every scenario because I'm still running the numbers. I'm still doing my spreadsheets. You know, I've always tried to be someone that is ahead of the curve, outplan people, outwork people. You know, this is a game, but essentially there's a lot on the line at the same time. So I want to be the best. I want to try and, you know, earn little pieces of information where I can. So I'll tell you, you know, my thinking, but I still want to make sure, you know, the decision's made before I explain it to you guys, because, you know, I don't want to lead anyone down the wrong path, essentially. But I will give you a little sneak peek of the different scenarios. So scenario 1 is a current scenario. Carry on as a limited well. You can see kind of how I've been doing over the last year and a half I've been playing this game. Very good output, I would say. So to continue that, it wouldn't be a disaster. But scenario 1, you kind of call it scenario 2, I guess, because, you know, it's different to what I'm doing now. But alternative scenario 1 is that I free roll, you know. I take out all of the money and I just, you know, I've net zero. I haven't put any money in. I'm playing with other people's money. How do I feel about that? Well, it depends how long you think the game is going to be around for. It depends how sustainable you think the game is. And of course, I had that doubt, and I still have that doubt. When does the supply stop? Will the supply ever stop? Do they even intend in keeping a good, strong economy, or do they just want as many cards there to sell them, to, you know, people to have fun and kind of forget about these big financial sides? So, you know, that would take that risk away. But if the product continues in a similar vein to the way I love it today, as a fantasy football game that has risks, that has rewards, to sell now would be a disaster. You know, I'm expecting this to be around in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and to grow into different sports. We've seen NBA, we've seen baseball, we've seen football. There's so many more sports you can introduce to this, and for it to work, to educate fans, to get them closer to the game, to get real life experiences because of the digital cards you own. So that's one scenario, right? You know, free rolling, just take the risk off the table, have fun. You know, very little risk. It's not my favourite option because obviously it's not very fun. You know, I love this game. To continue playing is definitely my preferred option. So scenario 2 is the double down. If you've played blackjack, you know what a double down is. If you haven't, I suggest you look it up. But that's what I'm debating, a similar play to that. If I think of the strength of the platform right now compared to where it was in June, compared to where it was to last year, compared to where it was 2 years ago, it's growing at such a substantial rate in the best possible way. I believe in the team, I believe in the product, I like what they're doing. but the market is not reflecting that in terms of my player values. My player values are as low as they were January 2022. So if my gallery is worth as much as it is in January 22, we're in a slight, economic recession. What should I do next? A smart person would say, if you believe fully in this product, you should go more into it. You should allocate more risk to that. And I'm debating it. And then alternatively, it's all what else is going on in the world, right? And, the crypto market's down. I'm a big crypto guy. I'm going to put some more videos out on cryptocurrency, particularly Ethereum, and learning about that to help other people. But those prices are so low, they could easily go back up. And then you've got that opportunity cost of, if all your cards are in players, what about the opportunity cost if crypto goes on a run? You're going to miss out on all of that. And, if you're a big crypto guy like myself, that's going to be quite devastating. And then there's, complete other places you can put it in. You can put it in the stock market, you can put it in bonds, you can go on a holiday, you can save for a house. So many things I need to decide, which is why I can't, provide it all in this video. But I hope this gives you a little update of what I've been doing. In that time, I also got a star limited. You'll see it in the video. I won't spoil it who it is, but there's a special guest and there's a special reward in the last video. I was on holiday. I got a little time to record a video. So go check that out. If you did like this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe. I'm sorry I haven't been putting videos out. I'm trying to get back on the horse, back making videos. I absolutely love this. And yeah, all the best to you. Cheers.